introduce a little bit more about your company, your personal brand and career brand, and what makes you shine individually?
Oh, Selassie.
Okay, we doing this? Okay.
That's why.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Simone.
Maybe so.
That's a tough question. That's a really hard question to answer. What makes me magical? If that's the thing. I think that for me, a lot of what I do is about putting myself out there. A lot of what I do is about being really, really positive and really cheerful and really supportive. Frankly, when I don't really feel like that a lot of the day, it's a lot of just putting out a lot of good stuff in the world, hoping that people respond with that same positivity and that same cheer and that same love. And in that way, it feels a little bit vulnerable a lot of the times. A lot of it feels, frankly, like you're faking it. A lot of it is having a really, really crappy day, not feeling great about yourself, but knowing that you can put on a big smile and be really nice to people and really show that love. So I think that the magic maybe comes from discipline. Maybe it comes from separating how I feel and how I act. I don't always feel great. I have lots of mental health things that I'm dealing with and still dealing with. And knowing and trying to figure out where is that separation between how do I feel today, how do I feel about myself, how do I feel about the world, and knowing that that cannot dictate what I actually do. Because the moment I let my feelings dictate what I do, especially on a regular basis, I will get nothing done. So I think that's where that magic comes from for me.
For me, I came out the womb with Black Girl Magic. It's just been about getting back to that. I was a black girl growing up in the South in the 70s where nothing I did was right. I was too loud. I wasn't ladylike, all these other things. Right. So as much as I tried to fight the system, a little black girl only has so much power. So, you give in, you do a little thing, you change a little thing. And at this point, I just have nothing to give. And you can fill in the blanks. And I am just me. And once the genie came out the bottle, it was not going back in. And my black girl magic comes from the fact that I know I don't speak for black women, but I speak on behalf of those black women who cannot, because it would jeopardize their jobs and everything else. So I take this very seriously. So when I am gaslighting somebody on Twitter, a white feminist or whatever, trust me, I'm doing it for you.
Awesome. I love you, man. I just don't know what to say.
I hope you have a script there.
I do, but it's like when you just
oh yeah, I'm black girl, man.
I just want to really say I'm really inspired to be here and to be sitting amongst these incredible women, and also to have you all take time out of your day to spend this time with us. It's really an honor. I would say that my black girl magic absolutely comes from my faith. I'm a very spiritual person, and I grew up as a have-not. We just didn't have, right? But we had each other. And so at a young age, I learned really not to covet what other people had, but to be very open to being inspired by others. And that is absolutely my fuel, is to be able to look out there at all your beautiful faces and hear something new, see something new, be inspired, and take that into myself and do the best that I can with it. And I think that the other part of Black Girl Magic is really our community, and the fact that you all can recognize it and can see it. Like, if you can't see it, is it really magical? And so it's all of us.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I feel just really lucky to be here, and I think that's part of the magic that I try to bring, is that I've had to grow and learn that I've earned this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And speak to that, and tell other people that you have earned this. Like this morning, I had to ask Iola to put doctor.
Yes. Yes. You earned it.
I earned it.
Yes.
I earned it from Rice University in Houston, Texas. It is not the blackest place. I was the second black woman to get a PhD for my program.
Wow.
And it is. Anyway. My magic is just to speak up, speak on it, closed mouths don't get fed. I say that all the time. And so when I walk into a room, I just embrace the fact that people are going to think I'm kind of rude sometimes. but I'm coming from a place of honesty and authenticity, and I try to share that whenever I can.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. Wow. So, my first question was, you know, with the Me Too movement going on right now in the media, do you guys feel that women of color or within tech, there could be possible people that feel like they are going through similar situations? And do you feel like, if someone is feeling like they've been sexually harassed or they've been assaulted within the workplace, being a woman of color, how should they handle it? And anyone can answer this question. This is for everyone. So
the first time it happened to me, I was 18 years old. I was actually working at community college, working in the computer lab. So, you know, I spend a lot of time like leaning over people with computers and things like that. And I was the only woman in the department. And it just so happened there was a person in leadership who really thought my shoulders were nice and they wanted to come up and rub my shoulders, and that's not appropriate. And so I was just very clear and blunt, and I said, "Get your hands off me, or you're gonna pull back a nub." I really said that, right?
Right.
And to be honest and to be truly frank, this is a person who had to learn my boundaries, and I had to step in. This person I still know. This person I actually have come to love and really appreciate to be in my community. Do I think that he does inappropriate things with people? Absolutely. And I think we all need to learn how to hold people accountable and make sure that they know this is the line that you're not allowed to cross. And the more we do that, the less it will happen. And I really am looking forward to more men standing up in the Me Too movement and saying, and when they see something, say, "Dude, you better stop that." Right? Because if it's only coming from us, it's going to take a lot longer for us to create safety.
I agree.
If you don't mind. So I've been in situations like that also, where it's not quite, but it's still maybe you shouldn't. Like there's like that strange, like you're a little too close. That hug was a little too long, you know?
Yeah.
Just these little gray areas where you didn't like grope me, but I don't, you know? And I feel like in those moments, I don't know if I'm overanalyzing it, but I'm like, what is this? Is this the time where I say something? Do I say it? And then I think about, is this someone who I might, offend, upset? Is there a like, there's all these, negotiations that I do with myself to the point where the moment's passed and he probably didn't even realize what happened. You know what I mean? You kind of miss that moment. So I'm incredibly impressed that in that moment, you just said what you said. Because I would have had 5 conversations over the next week before I got to a point where I thought I would have said something. So I'm wondering where did that come from for you?
I just don't like to be touched. I'm here at this conference and I'm seeing people, I'm hugging people. Maybe it took me a long time to be able to feel that comfortable with people, and I think, as young girls, we get taught that, oh, the uncle comes in and hug the uncle, or whatever. I tell my daughter, like, you want to hug your uncle, you don't have to.
Right.
And so it's like, I was that person who didn't want to be touched when I was young, and I had to learn to be trusting and more open. And
I want to speak to that because there's an article I often share about the adultification of Black girls. And this is a part of it where we see white little girls as so innocent, but our young girls starting at whenever they start puberty, if they have breasts, they become sexualized in our culture, and they're not safe. I don't see a problem with you going a week later and saying, "Hey, that hug you gave me," because we have to process it because we've been gaslit so much that every time we complain about something, someone says, "Oh, that's in your head," or "You're being too sensitive." Oh, that's how we all joke. So I would say everybody has a different way. Your way, that might not be safe for you to do it in that moment. So process it, but I would address it. Because I was at a conference and I just spoke about white people touching us as if we're pets and everything. And the dude comes out and he does me like this. And the organizers are right there. And y'all know what I'm saying? Oh, okay. So let me handle this. So he went to the bathroom, and as soon as he came out, I was sitting right there. Sir, I just spoke to you about that, and he didn't even recognize. It's so a part of who he is that he didn't even recognize it. I said, in future, you might want to be mindful of that. Because again, whiteness does not examine whiteness because they never had to. This is the culture. We are always like, okay, did I say that too loud? Did my skirt do that? And it's about us. It's hard. To say, you know what? No. No. Because that's a conversation we got to deal with ourselves first.
Right.
Yeah.
And something I want to add on to that is that this has happened to me a couple of times, more so when I was young than now, because I am a quick responder now. I get a little too close. Oh, you think so? Yes, I think so.
I even ask, do you think so?
Yeah. And I do the opposite too. I mean, I've been in some situations with men who later told me, oh, okay, I just got divorced, I'm just in a weird place. I was like, well, you've been behaving fine, you haven't been creeping me out. So I didn't say that. But one thing that did happen to me when I was younger is that I was working in a small office for a prominent black man, and he said some things that were inappropriate. I felt like I couldn't do anything because he was important.
Yes.
He's important to our community.
Yep.
And that's something that we need to talk about.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not okay.
Right.
And giving that person that feedback, at least, and if you think feedback is a gift, whatever. Speaking up to saying that's not okay, we need to empower our women, our girls to do that.
Yes.
And support them when they tell you the same thing. So.
On that, one of the things, go ahead. One of the things I got from growing up, and I guess it was just me, I was the only child who moved a lot and who was an introvert, so I had to make, to figure stuff out. So I've never been that person who puts anybody higher or lower. So I've never had that issue with somebody important, but it's there because we tell somebody's gonna get offended. The black church.
Yeah.
How we treat our black young women in the black church. And that if this minister or this deacon or whatever, their word is whatever. Right. And so we need to stop. Our young women don't have a safe space to do anything.
Not even in church.
Exactly. And so I've never had that, somebody said, because I was like, but you still catch yourself. I still have those moments like, but my thing is, if my gut tells me, I'll deal with it later if it wasn't. Right. But if my gut tells me, I'm just relearning how to trust my gut because we've been told. Yeah.
A lot of times when it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
Yes, exactly. And not question that. Yeah. Because we do that also in relationships with men. Agree.
Can I add one more thing to that one? I think the other thing about the Me Too movement is it goes beyond sexual harassment and sexual assault, because when we're oftentimes the smaller gender, oftentimes softer spoken, oftentimes we kind of contain ourselves and don't take up very much space. Other people encroach upon that in all sorts of other ways. And so I've been in situations where leaders would talk to me differently than they would talk to the CEO. And the CEO comes in, they've got a nice, soft, respectful voice, and when I come in the room, they're like bossing me around and using a vernacular and a tone that I don't appreciate. And again, early in my career, I got very comfortable with saying, hey, let's step into your office, because I didn't have one. Let's step into your office. And I really want to talk to you about that interaction that we had. Yes. I've seen you interact with this person, and I really respect the way you interact with them. But I spoke to me on several occasions, and I didn't feel that same respect. We need to fix that. And it's like, it's not an attack. It's not I'm taking you down. It's let's have this cordial conversation. Yes.
A lot of times when I've done that, and it was a white male leader, they look crazy. They look like, oh my gosh, did you just really just pull me to the side and check me? Yeah. So I guess we have to be aware of how we check them too, without being like overly disrespectful. So you had that thin line of being 100% real and authentic about what you say. How do we be? I guess my next question kind of goes into how do we conversate and communicate and collaborate and be our authentic self without coming off as angry or upset.
All right. This is the problem, and this is why we need to address white supremacy. I'm so sick of black women. The first time we disagree, we're being angry. We're being defensive. All of these things, I just don't agree with you, and I have a right not to agree with you. And so your question won't be solved unless we solve the underlying problem of the fact that there's anti-blackness, and we don't have a place, and when we speak up, there's a problem with that.
Right.
So you can say all of this, because okay, but I didn't say, okay, but I'm not. Okay.
Because sometimes we get blacklisted after we do that, and we feel like we're doing the right thing because our gut told us to do that. And then I've experienced where I'm being shunned, or my responsibilities are taken away from me, or they're trying to take
economically, and that's a problem. It shouldn't. So this is why, and that's when I was speaking to my audience are not black people. Nothing against y'all. We're in the same boat together. I need white people to address the other white people so we can fix this stuff because they're not listening to me.
Right.
I don't have the cachet with them. But if someone, like you said, another white person says, hey, dude, what's that? What are you doing? She wasn't angry, and I see that all the time on Twitter because the first thing they'll say to me is, oh, you're angry right now. Somebody will come in. No, she's not angry. She just gave you a whole list of things that you choosing not to agree with, blah, 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 blah. It takes them. Now, they can't position themselves as experts because I'll check them on that. But because they don't have my lived experience. But this is the core of why this stuff isn't working, because we're not dealing with the roots of why this stuff exists in the first place, and it is white supremacy.
Yeah, there is a very clear, and I've experienced this. I'm a very kind and gentle person. I'm very respectful, and I treat people the way I want to be treated. Is what I do. And even recently in my career, I have been called into rooms by my manager to tell me that there was a white man who felt uncomfortable with the way that I told him to do something. And look, when you communicate over email, it's pretty clear. Here are your options.
Yeah.
You can do this or you can do that. Which one are you going to do?
They have a hard time taking authority from them.
Yes.
For us giving them
Experience.
I've experienced that as a manager in government. If they're another race, they feel like, oh, how dare for her to be telling me what to do.
Experiencing the shift of power. And I really love what you said about not seeing hierarchical differences in terms of power, because we're all equals. And this is why I think the word equality is really important. When we talk about power, we're all equal. So if I tell you or request of you to do something, and we all work together, we're all on the same team, you ought not be offended by that just because I have a lower pay grade or lower title.
Right.
Or even a higher title. If it's coming from a black woman, it doesn't matter. She has a doctor on her name.
Doctor.
And I bring it up all the time.
Exactly, because black women are the most degreed people in this country.
Yeah, but
That's
you
the deal.
I have it on the email signature.
I tattooed it right here on my
I'm being angry. Like the first, I get excited about this. My first job, I worked in one of my first real job. I worked in a hotel, and I worked at the front desk, and I worked from 3 to 11. The guy who came after me was consistently late, and it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm a college student. I'm like, I gotta go. So every night I was staff meeting. It was like, oh, do y'all have anything to say? And I was like, hey, you've been late a lot. Can you stop being late? And my manager pulled me aside. It's like, that was very rude, and that was. Why are you so angry with him? I was like, I'm not angry, that was factual. I want to go home. And one of my friends, a white woman, and still my friend to this day, she was like, don't forget, they don't just gonna take that. Like, that's not the way she is.
Right.
And that's when I was like, stepped into my, okay, I'm a smiley, happy person, but I am direct. And if you consider that angry, then I might be angry in this moment, but don't take that away from me.
Right. Awesome. This is some good conversation.
Yeah.
Can I add to that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
To piggybacking off what you said, I think for me there's been, while we fix white supremacy,
Yes.
there have been,
That's gonna take a while.
that's gonna take some time. So in the meantime, two things that I've done that are, very tactical that have really helped is, number one, showing people who I am before they make any assumptions. So when I work into a get into a work relationship, setting that expectation right up front. I have a very high bar for how I do things. I like quality work. I expect things to be punctual. I expect you to communicate with me on a regular basis. And if you know that from the very first conversation and I bring it up later, well, you can't be surprised,
Yep.
right? We're all on the same page. So I think showing people what your standards are before you get to a point where, oh my God, you're angry. I mean, if that's how you interpret it, then you knew that from day one. Right? Because we talked about that. And the second thing is reminding people that we're on the same team, right? So I've had a situation, a couple, where I've had to pull my CEO, my manager to the side and go, okay, let's talk about that conversation we just had. And the way I've done that without him being upset is to say, when you do this, this is how I feel. And then the result is that my work is poor. We don't want my work to be poor now, do we?
Right.
So if we want me to do good work, then this is what I need,
Right.
right? So it's not about you're a bad person. It's not you're making it hard. It's A plus B equals C. C is bad.
Right.
Let's get to D, right? That's the equation.
Yeah.
And I feel like whenever I position the conversation, not you versus me, not nothing like that, but just this is what we want for the company. This is how I can help you reach your goals.
Right.
The conversation is completely different, right? Then it's, oh crap, I do want to reach my goals. How do we do that? And then I feel like they open up a lot more than making it about them being the bad guy. So that's a tactic that I found really
That
helpful.
cause and effect.
Right. Great. So I wanted to kind of shift the conversation and talk about, how, technology is sometimes a stressful industry for us. How do we as women, we are, some of us are wives, mothers, some of us, have so many other things that we do. How do we manage balance? Is it okay not to be okay sometimes? Because sometimes I think we put on this mask and we just try to act like everything's okay, and sometimes we need to focus on making sure that we're good and we have balance. So could you guys give any advice on how we can do that in this industry?
Know yourself and know your boundaries. Like, I was in a situation where I worked so much that I got something called iriditis at some point, where the irises in my eyes got inflamed. I was like, that's too much work.
That's the barrier.
Yeah, that's the barrier. But being really purposeful about what's important to you. So I'm okay with working late. I'm okay with working early. I'm not okay with working on weekends. I don't do it. I also take a mental health day every now and then.
Yep.
I write PTO, block it off, not calling in, not doing anything. Use your vacation days. Like, nobody's getting you a prize for keeping those days.
True stories.
And also encourage other people to do the same. If you see other folks on your team, in your community, not taking care of themselves, nobody's going to get a job. You're not going to get to your goals no matter.
I need to take quite a bit of time off. He needs a sabbatical. Talking about Kanye.
For me, you can't give what you don't have. And I'll just go say this. Black women are the moral compass of this country. And the rest of this world has been sitting on our backs, on our shoulders, weighing us down since slavery. And it's time for that. When you look at feminism, it's white feminism. It does not include us, it never has included us. And when we get to this realization that we need to be out for ourselves, we need to really protect ourselves, who I feel safe with, especially in the work that I do, are Black women. And I say this on Twitter, so there's not a surprise. I trust whiteness I distrust whiteness by default. Because I've been gaslit so often that it is their job. If they want to change that perspective, it is their job to do consistent, demonstrated behavior that they can be trusted. A lot of it has nothing to do with their intentions. It's how they've been socialized. So the work that I do is intensely focused on white people, talking about white supremacy, talking about building businesses. I can't go to that to fill me up. I have to go to other Black women, but when I was a teacher, I get a day off, take a day, baby. I believe in taking time off.
Okay.
Putting that, and I don't have to go anywhere. Putting that vacation thing on your thing. That's one reason I work for myself, so I can do this. I can get up at 3 o'clock in the morning if I want to work on something,
Right.
but I can go back to sleep. Because I knew I needed that freedom to do this kind of stuff, but we burn out so.
The burnout.
You talk about your stuff. I got so stressed. The sternum had inflammation in my sternum, and I was like, what the? It wasn't recent when I was in college trying to figure, just stress it manifests physically, and then I am absolutely no good to myself,
Right.
to my family, or the community that I'm trying to do something with. So we really have to prioritize ourselves, because again, Black women are the moral compass of this country, and that's why you keep seeing both Black women, amplified by, they know that we have said, if it worked for us, we would be, y'all think we'd be in a shit show. Good God Almighty. Because when we vote our conscience, our morals, everybody benefits. No, I was just wanting to say that we just really have to you have to stop. You have to stop.
So I go to farmers markets. Farmers markets are amazing. Do y'all know about farmers? Do y'all have farmers markets? Oh my goodness. They got different kinds of figs and stuff. They got tiger figs, they got black figs, they got all kinds of figs. It's a really beautiful place.
This one's mine.
Figs. Oh, farmers.
Figs.
Figs are amazing. So for me, a lot of my mental health, a lot of my balance comes from Saturday mornings. My husband and I will go find a local farmers market in San Diego, and that's my time off. And it feels productive because I'm technically grocery shopping. I'm like having breakfast, but that's been like my escape. And I try to budget that in every single weekend. But apart from that, balance is, the whole work-life balance conversation, I find really frustrating because it feels like there's just one definition of what that is. It feels like it's a strange thing. It's like if you work more than 40 hours, you were, a terrible workaholic who's, punishing themselves. And there's this huge negativity around that.
Right.
But I like working. I like what I do. I like being up until, 2 o'clock in the morning. I like that. I actually enjoy that. Only two. Okay, specific times, so hold on. And so for me, it's been redefining what balance looks like. It's for me realizing that I really just don't need that much time off. I need my Saturday mornings, that's kind of it. I need the occasional, date out with my husband, and that's basically it. And being okay with that, not feeling guilty about working too much. There was a time when I would, tweet late at night, just because, looking for company, and just saying, hey, how's it going working on this thing? And I would get DMs and tweets of people going, oh my God, you're working too hard, you're gonna burn out. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, you don't know me. And so part of it is just really knowing who you are and what you need, and listening to your body. That's been huge. Like knowing that when your body says, I'm not feeling well, you need to stop. You need to take an hour, take it to yourself.
Do you think working for the right company or having the right company that has the right culture fit and being passionate about the company that you work for dictates the level of effort of wanting to go beyond 40 hours? Because if I love my company, I love my team, I love what I'm doing, I probably am more okay with that. But if I don't really like my environment, I don't like I just want to, because I know you work for Salesforce, and a lot of people are so, they're so excited about working for these big Fortune 500 tech companies, and then when they get with these companies, they find out that they're burning out and they're not happy. So I just want to ask you guys, do you think culture fit in the right company also helps with that?
Yeah, I really do. I think it's paramount of importance. One of the things that happened over the course of my time working at Salesforce is there was a women's movement. All of a sudden, work-life balance became a bigger topic. And I was very vocal with our leadership, and I said, hey, you know what, let me tell you what work-life balance means to most of us women. It means men pushing off a lot of things that they need to do to their wives, right? And us as right, I'm saying. So now,
we can't further marginalize the marginalized.
No, exactly. I want to say something though on that piece. Now, women in the workplace, we have these multivariate pressures. We have this pressure of being the woman who cooks. We have this pressure of being the woman who runs the boardroom. And we have our own dreams as well. And sometimes they are associated with our corporate progress, and other times they're associated with other things. So we have these needs that are really challenging to fulfill. And what's rewarded in our society is often what actually drives our behavior. So if we're working really hard, if we're working really late hours, it's probably because somebody is either affirming us in doing that, or giving us a really good chunk of change to do that, and that's our reward, and it's kind of driving that behavior. What we need to do is advocate for ourselves and the things that we need to make sure that we have space, make sure that we have quiet, make sure that we have the kinds of support and not being minimized for that. And I'll give you an example. If I have somebody come in and clean my house, let me tell you, I'm going to appreciate that person. I think you like the CEO of this countertop. You the bomb. I'm going to make sure you get paid well, right? The amount of time. Here's how I think we ought to think about outsourcing work when it comes to certain things is, what would be the value of my time if I did that? Right. Now, in not doing that, I'm getting some time back to do something that's more valuable. So how about I compensate that person as close as I can to equal value of what I'm getting? As close as I comfortably can do that, right? And really respect the fact that this person picking my child up from school is making sure that my child has a great opportunities in life and comfort, right? And so there's all these other things associated with that. And on the point about the corporate culture, at Salesforce is very well known. If you go on the Glassdoor, you're going to see, that's a burnout shop, right? That's what it's going to say on Glassdoor. It's not my words. I take sabbaticals, right? I tell people when I need time off, when I need serious time off, I take my time. There's other people who don't. The other thing, and I'm going to say white people are actually really good at this, so shout out to the white folks in the room. Therapy.
Yes.
Therapy and counseling. Yes. We often misconstrue the need for therapy with mental illness. Sometimes it's that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But also therapy and counseling is just great in helping you grow and overcome difficult things. If you are in the middle of a role transition and you're trying to move into a more aggressive leadership position, you're going to be facing a lot of friction that you haven't experienced before. You're going to be facing a lot of cognitive load and stress and people coming at political stress.
So don't look at it as a weakness. Don't look at therapy as a weakness.
You need to get that therapy and support and advocate.
It should be a tool in your toolbox. And it shouldn't be seen as anything else. But I want to talk to that culture thing because none of this happens without safety. We're already treated poorly outside of our work environments. If I don't feel safe within my work environment, first of all, you're going to get 30% of my time because everybody there is mediocre anyway. I'm sorry. As hard as I had to get there, I'm already outpacing everybody. I mean, I was on a job and I got turned some work in and they called me and was like, why are you turning it in? So I had to learn, do my work on Monday and parse it out during the week. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm already black girl magic. So we have to learn, but if I don't feel safe, you ain't getting nothing else from me. You're going to get the bare minimum so that I don't have to hear your voice.
And we did actually a lot of work on psychological safety. I mean, the first time I went to someone in our employee success HR leadership and talked to them about the need for psychological safety, they said, what? When you say that, it makes it sound like this place is not psychologically safe. Let me tell you who just the other day was talking about psychological safety, our CEO. Wow. Right? So, we lead these discussions and we have to keep pushing it. We have to keep pushing it, right? One last thing I want to add is in these companies that do have a lot of corporate trauma that it inflicts upon people, I'm going to be very clear with corporate trauma.
Yes.
There are pockets of safety. You have to find
You have to search, yeah.
your pockets of
Yeah.
safety. Every organization is going to have trauma. You have to find your pockets.
So what's the strategy to finding those pockets?
I'm just gonna say, hold on.
Okay.
Your questions are challenging for me because there is no one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
And we.
I'm happy that it's a little challenge.
Yeah. Because, well, I'm challenging that because I don't want anybody. What works for me can't work for
May
somebody
not
else.
for
Because I
somebody
was just somebody else will get fired. so don't do what Kim does unless you're willing to deal with the consequences of what this is.
It's your last day.
And I like that all of us have very
Different
approaches.
perspective. Yeah.
Because everybody is different. I've always been the one that said, don't go in the woods. Okay, there's something in the woods that I don't really see. So that's just been my personality.
That is so accurate.
I mean, yes.
I know you.
Yes.
Did you go yourself or did you send someone to go?
Oh, no. I went myself because I calculated all she was going to do was whoop me. I done had a whipping before. What's that? I want to see what's in the woods. Now, mind you, I was in Atlanta doing missing and murdered children time, too. So I was freaking my mama out every time I went somewhere.
I realized this was a real story.
Yo. I was not the child my mama wanted at the time. Yeah.
I kind of built these questions because I just wanted this conversation to be very, we focus a lot on the professional aspect of development.
Yeah.
We don't focus on a lot of the other issues that we deal with. I've dealt with a lot of career heartbreak, unhappy times, and I just wanted to see you guys' thoughts on it. So I just wanted to let you see if you had anything to add to that.
So my answer is probably not gonna sit with a lot of people, but I'm a large enterprise person. I don't have my own business. If I don't feel safe, I find another job.
There you go, girl.
Yes.
There you go, girl.
So trying to create pockets of space, talking to your manager, talking to your peers, and if that's not working, there's lots of people who want to hire you.
Exactly. So know your worth.
Know your
Especially in
worth.
tech.
Yeah.
Especially in tech. I work for Express Scripts right now for the last 3 years. And it's a very interesting place because we manage medication benefits for about a third of the country, and my team does research on your interaction with the website or with whatever. And I have to tell my team all the time, this job will break your heart. Take a breath, let's take a step back, let's all go out, we're gonna leave today at 2. Because they get feedback from the website, they'll be in a session with users, go look at analytics and see that, oh crap, we did something today that folks couldn't log in, they couldn't get their refill, you read these comments and it will literally break your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to take a break from the work sometimes. But then on the other hand, when we make some change, like we fixed, accessibility is my favorite thing to talk about right now. We made the website usable for people who are blind.
Yep.
We got comments like, oh, I was able to do my refill today and I didn't have to call my cousin to come pick me up and drive me to the pharmacy. And you're like, everybody high fives, people are crying. Yes, we did a great job today. But the work itself can be really rewarding and also really hard. So you have to have a balance. And on the other hand, sometimes you feel like you're doing stuff that doesn't matter. And that's hard to figure all to. Like, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I worked at NASA and I left because I felt like I was doing a lot of work for 6 people in the space station versus doing work for 100 million people.
Wow.
So you just got to know what's important to you.
Yeah.
So I had a question that since you are, how can we better mentor and develop relationships with managing and mentoring female developers, UX designers, QA testers? Because I've been in leadership roles where I want to better help women of color that are junior developers. What are some advice could you give to some of the people that may be managing teams?
One thing that I try to instill is a couple things. Prepare to be uncomfortable. Like just not in situations where you don't feel safe, but in situations where you need to give a presentation, where trust that I asked you to do this for a reason.
Yes.
you are qualified. You might be uncomfortable, but kind of, you know, take that discomfort to the side and go ahead and go for it. The other thing is, know what's important to you and own it. Like, if money's important to you, that's fine. Don't like I don't have kids. That was a decision I made, and I talk about it all the time. Don't feel like less of a woman because you decided not to have kids.
Yes.
They say that millennial women they're not getting married as fast or not having kids as fast, and some women feel pressured or feel like they have to do self-comparison. And social media really is making people feel like she got married or she got a picture of her baby. How do you guys handle that? Like, you know, with the self-comparison of another woman of color in the workplace. Sometimes you feel slighted or you feel some kind of way. I have at one time. Now that I've grown to be 35, I'm really more comfortable with myself. But how can we help other young women of color not feel that way?
I think for me, one of the big things is figuring out, because I get jealous all the time. I'm a very jealous person. And I look at other people, I think we all are, don't lie. But I think too many times I look on Instagram, I look on Twitter, and I'll see someone who has something, and I go, oh, I wish I had that. And what I've done that's been really helpful is to dig in a little bit more and figure out, but do I want that? Or do I want what that represents?
Wow.
Right? So if I look at someone, you know, with a nice car, my instinct is, oh, I wish I had a nice car. But then I go, my garage isn't even that big. Like, can I use this car? You know? And I realize it's not really about the car. It's the fact that I assume that person, you know, had enough money and enough financial security that they can afford the car. So really what I want is financial security. So what does financial security look like for me? Right? And too many times I look at photos and stuff and I think that what I see is the thing, but it's rarely ever the thing. It's what that thing represents. And figuring out what that means for you. What does success really look like for you? And what are the proxies you associate with that?
I'm so glad you said that because it gives me a chance to plug the resource that I developed. If you go to lifemodeldesign.com, I actually created a guide to driving your career and getting promoted and negotiating and stuff like that. And I know there's some people here that have used it, but why that's really important is actually not just to know what's out there and to know what's available to you, what other people are getting. That's one piece. But the other thing is to know what is really driving you. And in that, we actually have a whole section that is just driven around helping you understand what your motivators are. Like, what are your motives? Is it significance? Is it connection? Is it that you want to be recognized? Is it growth, right? What is actually rewarding you? Because if you can figure that out, you will find the right people to be inspired by, and then you will take the action to get what you actually want rather than feel bad about yourself.
And bypass I wanted my phone because I was and I mentioned this in the my presentation, Requiem for American Dream, and he speaks these principles, and one is manufacturer consent, and there's this thing called fabricating consumers. If you can fabricate, and this is how people have trained us, if you can fabricate wants, make obtaining things that are just about within your reach, the essence of life, they're going to be trapped in becoming consumers. Now, expand that out beyond that. When we see celebrities, when we see artists, when we see the CEO, when we see that person who just got that promotion, we have been trained to see that stuff, be distracted by that stuff, and not go for what we really want, which is freedom and peace and happiness and all that. Because if we all went for that, we wouldn't be in the system that we're in right now. So that is a great point about when you really drill down to things, and that therapy helps with that. When you really drill down to it, it's not the stuff that they told us that we want. It's the feeling we think we're going to get from the stuff that we think we want. Or the feeling we get from what we think that person got when they got that promotion. Or that thing. And again, bypassing all that and get to the real work, because even chasing that takes resources. So instead of expending resources on that, this is what I really want. How do I best get to that? And that's why the business is what I have it, because one of my bucket lists is to be invited to speak at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. So, and so I know when I'm doing stuff on Twitter or whatever, if it doesn't take there,
Yeah.
I don't need to talk to you. You're just a troll. But if I see that that's in the path, oh, we about to engage. So it's about understanding, digging deep, and we've been taught, again, not to question the church. And then nothing against the church, but if you're not self-reflecting, you're not growing.
Yeah.
And the church has been used to pacify us and enslave our minds for so long. And there's nothing wrong with having a faith, but a faith without examining, you can be led anywhere. And these are the things we need to be doing.
Yeah, I want to add another practical example on that because, you know, I love hip hop, and so.
Who's your favorite hip hop artist? Tupac.
Davos and hip hop.
And, you know, so they talk about, you know, cars and fancy cars, and I never was really into cars until I saw the Bentleys. And the reason why I really like the Bentleys is because the Bentleys is for you to have a chauffeur to drive you around.
Yes.
Park, shout out to everybody from, yeah, right? So,
I know your budget is for this, but a fair offer is this. I'm expecting you to
Yes, thank you.
I use Glassdoor.com to look at my state and look at my experience, and I do the high, medium, and low, and based off of that, I try to come, you know, use that.
But, I mean, I don't want to lose this point, though. You come in, like, let's say you're coming in like $20,000 over what I'm going to pay. I'm just going to tell you, I can't pay you that.
Right.
Do you still want the job? Like, I'm not going to rescind the offer. That's just
Salary is not going to stop them, because now they got to go through the hiring process again, which is very expensive. I mean, getting to the offer costs companies money.
That's
Yep.
right.
And
So,
work.
exactly. So who wants to start all that over for $5,000?
You're right.
Over how many pay periods in a year?
I know.
Which is like $100 extra.
Yeah, so honestly, I just feel like I'm not gonna be pressed for the job, they should be pressed for me.
Well, I wanted to, just because my situation is different, it's Saran in the beginning, but it just pushed me because I was still figuring out what I wanted to do. But now I'm at a point where I'm telling Rob, yeah, my prices are, because there's a price and then I add a bullshit tax on top of it. And I let them know that that's what it is. Because do you know the kind of what I'm going to deal with you and your company? So there's a tax to that. But I do that because I understand that there are people coming behind me and I want there to be an expectation of pay. I am creating a space that doesn't exist.
I work for several large enterprises, and I've actually told some of our smaller vendors to tax us.
Exactly.
Because it's going to take us a long time to pay you.
Yep.
We're going to make you do all this forms.
Yes.
Like you probably have to hire somebody to deal with us, honestly.
Yeah.
So think about that as you submit your
All your
proposal.
expenses.
Yes.
Yes.
Do not do this for free.
Any other questions, audience questions? Yes.
So, being a black male, one thing that I try to aspire to do is uplift our women in every way. What do you feel is one of the major things that us as black males can do to help our black women in technology?
Speak up for us.
Yeah.
Too often, black men see us as competition. We don't get there together, we don't get there at all. Because it's all of us are being oppressed. So if there's an opportunity for you to introduce someone to someone, do that. We need if you see someone being harassed, say something. Don't walk. This is a question I've been asking myself. Who do black women get protection from? Where is our soft spots land? And outside of black women, I'm sorry, black men, I don't see it. You're not safe for me.
Understood.
And I need that to change.
I want to add that, totally get your point, agree with it, but my biggest advocates have been black men. Some of my greatest mentors have been black men, people who would pull me aside and say, Adore, what the F, you're punching at this rate and you're asking for this. or you're not, you're not representing yourself to the fullest of the degree. And I'm like, okay, well, can we sit down and talk about how we can correct that? And they'll be like, yeah. And it's like that energy, that like, I need that sometimes. And so you can encourage that, and you can even help them develop the talking points that are just direct them into it. But it's so key, and it has definitely been helpful for me.
I would add to, don't sister girl us. Like, we are professional women. Yeah, not your homie. Not yet, I mean, maybe later. Don't,
Tell us how much you get paid.
Yes.
Because you probably make more than we do.
Yeah.
So anytime you can say, hey, let's talk about money, that is very much appreciated.
You feel
And
like
I'm gonna help you with the script and negotiator. Oh, they told you this? Whatever they tell you, come back to me so I can tell you what to do next.
Gotcha.
Any other question here?
Hi, so first of all, I want to thank you guys for being here because this is so inspirational for being a Black woman and being somebody that is just coming out of school. What is an advice that you would give a Black woman that is just getting started in the tech world or just finishing school, especially for somebody like me where I was a makeup artist all throughout school, and now people are telling me like, what are you doing in tech? Like, don't you do makeup? So what is something that you could tell a Black girl that, is dealing with this, it feels like an in-between world where it's like you feel like an imposter in this field or you feel like you don't belong?
I feel like for me, the biggest motivation in those moments is to be the person who I need to exist. That's been the biggest thing. In moments where I feel like, I don't really feel good, I don't want to do the work, I'm tired, I feel like I'm never going to get to where I need to get to. It's been about imagining who is the person that I wish I had, who's the person I wish I could call, who's the person who, I wish I could see headlines about, right? Arlon Hamilton being, the face of Fast Company was huge because when the first time I said, oh, I can see like maybe I'm on my way, it feels closer. And so in moments where we don't have 100 Arlons and, we don't see people like us, I think it's been about channeling the future me, if that makes sense. Saying, okay, in 10 years, I'm going to be that person. Okay, what would that person do? And kind of creating, not to sound a little insane, but kind of multiple personalities, like saying, okay, what would my future self do? And what did my past self need?
Yeah.
And channeling those two people and really trying to act through what those two people need and what they would do.
No.
Life, baby, I've had so many careers. I was, family life, you can't figure this out. I'm only here because I've had all those careers. Because now all the puzzle pieces have come together. I have a master's degree in training and development. I have worked with learners from ages 2 to almost in the grade. I'm a certified special needs teacher. I get a doctorate in business administration, technology, entrepreneurship. I am a multi-potentialite. This is about creating knowledge, and you can't create knowledge if you don't have perspective. So you use that. You might just, when they talk to you and whatever, but you use that. Because being a makeup artist coming into tech, you'll figure it out. You know how to contour faces. Oh man, that can really work with how you deal with people and who don't feel pretty about themselves. Or you have a coworker. I mean, that could be changed in so many different ways. This doggone industrial industry thinking does not work now.
Yeah.
The pension and the benefit. No, we need to know. And so, do you, boo?
Yeah. I just want to say, I'm an engineer and my contours is laid.
Yes.
You ever seen that before? Yeah.
Because they looking kind of bushy.
You had a question over there?
Yes, I did. So my question is, I think it's about personal development. How do you handle it when you're in the place of work, when you're doing your best, and when a Black woman is engaging people and people feel able to always criticize you and tear you down, and make you feel bad about yourself, and you're very discouraged and thinking about like, this is the right place for me.
We were talking about this yesterday a little bit. Been in some situations where I get feedback about women on my team, Black women on my team specifically over the last few years, that is not actionable. It's like,
Yes.
it's not meaningful feedback. So what I have made it my purpose to do, and I talked to my peers in leadership about this as well, to go back to them, I was like, this, I can't do anything with this, I'm not giving her that feedback unless you give me something more specific. If you are getting that kind of feedback, it hurts, because I've gotten it, but take it back to your manager and say, give me a specific example of what you're talking about, because I can't do anything with this information. And just, it's not you, push it away from you. You can't do anything with that. If you are not getting actual constructive feedback to actually improve yourself, then it's not anything you should listen to. And I know, we talk about, you can't, it's hard, but you put that in your other personality that you don't talk about.
And you need to find those people and those things that make you safe.
Yes.
Because we are going to be attacked. That's just it. It's just a reality. And until you can get in a place with psychological safety. But then there are things that happen amongst us that we do to each other. So you really just need to find that safe place to land. Who are those people who won't say anything, will just let you vent? Won't just sit back and just will eat chocolate or whatever. You need that, because we need all of that. And that doggone actionable thing. It's like, dude, what does that mean?
Like somebody told me, like, this is my favorite, this is when the light bulb went off. Somebody told me I was secretive. Like, how was I, what is that?
Do you have intellectual property you hide or something?
I work in a large enterprise. There's a million of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, getting a mentor actually is that's a good thing to do in this situation as well. Like having somebody who you trust,
Yes.
who can give you honest feedback that you can then work with. And
Because you can take it to them and say, this is what I heard. And they can say, okay, that right there, and just throw that away. But this right here, yes, I've seen that, or da-da-da, and this is how you work on that.
Yeah, and I do also want to add, like, there are going to be times when you will have interactions with people that just freaking suck.
Yep.
You don't have to just work with them.
Yeah.
You might be in a room working with them for another 6 months to a year possibly. And sometimes you just have to just grit and push through it. In order to do that, you definitely need people who can help you recover sometimes from their negative energy. And there are other tactics that you can try to kind of disrupt that dysfunction. And you definitely should do that. And always remember where you're trying to go. Because it's not that situation that you're in, you're trying to get somewhere else.
Yeah.
So keep it moving so you can progress.
Any last questions? Well, I think this was a very, very good conversation, and I appreciate each one of you guys for joining us, the audience, and we appreciate the panel.